Good morning. I hope that all of you had a good evening. I know a lot of you got to go downtown and see Boulder. Boulder's a little pretty downtown at night. Nice to get out of here. And last time we had dinner here, and I think it was a good call to go get out of here. Go there. Okay, so as I said, if you need your boarding pass printed, send it to Melanie and Megan. So some of the topics I just want to make a few remarks before I introduce our first speaker, Carolyn Wilson. Some of the things that we've been talking about are pertinent. Yesterday, I saw a story that new bill fights sexual harassment by going after professors' grant money, as Rebecca was saying. I'm not sure why. Well, the bottom, maybe the text is just off the slide. So there's the doling out grants piece at the bottom there, and the reporting, because a lot of times it sounds like these investigations are often kind of secretive. So I thought that was interesting and progress. I also wanted to, I was thinking, I should have introduced this organization yesterday as a part of talking about underrepresented groups. But anyway, this is a support group and a place where people share resources and ask questions. And from what I hear from high school students, Facebook is like not of interest anymore. So guess what? We got to move on to the next thing, whatever. How you do REU management with Snapchat, I'm not sure, because it's kind of ephemeral. Is that the right word? Temporary. Anyways, Earth Science Women's Network, and they have, I don't know about all the other things they do, but I do follow them on Facebook, and it's things like, here's a woman, we just lost a scientist, a woman scientist in Boulder last week that was apparently, that kind of thing, or how do I dress how would you dress if you were going to an interview that was like this, and tips, and so here's one by a colleague of ours actually, that was up just yesterday on elevator speeches, that kind of thing. And this group, as Rebecca mentioned, was, I think, primarily responsible, or maybe in conjunction with AGU, and not sure, AGU, for that conference on the sexual harassment that she told us about. So anyway, it's just interesting to see that, and I encourage you, if you're interested in participating and you happen to use Facebook. I know a lot of us got into Facebook because of keeping contact with students. So today, this morning's session is on geoscience career awareness and professional development of students in REUs. I think we can all agree that we probably all believe that scientific thinking or evidence-based reasoning is a valuable way of thinking that we would love to have more people use, including politicians and other people. And at this end, we would love to have more people go into STEM careers and in a variety of domains, and geoscience careers, partly because it's such an important area. Well, I think that there's, we're sort of seeing growing awareness that careers in academia are really not a really hugely viable option or let's put it this way, it's not a viable option for a large number of STEM students. And we need to think about how we prepare students to be aware of careers out in the world that are in STEM and in geoscience, careers that maybe are outside of academia. And how do we help prepare them? And how do we help faculty who have been doing what they've been doing for years hear and learn and think about how to do this? Hear about how, employers really want people who have these experiences and skill sets that are maybe more like problem solving or like messy case studies, that kind of thing, and not so much like, as prescribed. Maybe more like if you took a master's degree thesis and turned it into, there are all kinds of ways that you could ideally bring this into the regular curriculum. Although I love academia and I spent a lot of my life doing it, I just wanted to point out there are like recent articles in Nature in 2015. One was about postdocs, one was about PhDs, and one of them in last December in Nature said it shows how so few people end up becoming faculty. The numbers decrease. If we were to look at the numbers of students in undergraduate programs and then graduate programs and then PhDs and then postdocs and then faculty positions, it really keeps shrinking, right? The ratio, the Nature paper from December, I think it was in there, it said that the ratio in STEM broadly, not just geoscience, of people who are in postdoc positions to open faculty positions currently is about 7-to-1. And that's people who've made it all the way through 5 years of postdocing. And that's the trend now, is like multiple postdocs, multiple years of postdocs. Good luck getting a faculty job if you have 2 years of postdocing. So it's like this endless, it's like a whole other career, the PhD and postdoc thing. And so this was a quote that I found in another article. Since receiving my PhD, that's since the PhD, I used to think of like, yeah, you gotta be willing to move around, your master's degree and your PhD, and now it's like, oh, 3 postdocs. Moved to Boston for postdoc, then in 2015 I left Boston for another one, and I will have to move again. If I'm lucky, I'll get a faculty position. So not to be a real, super downer about it, but I just think we need to be thinking about how to really realistically introduce other options to the students.
So I wholeheartedly agree with you. However, I also know that many of the scientists that are mentors in REU programs see them as recruitment opportunities for down the line. And do you have any advice on how to convince them of this being a more healthy perspective to take? Basically, it being about the students rather than the future recruitment for mentors.
Well, on the one hand, I think it's great to recruit for graduate school. I mean, I think people will have better job opportunities if they do have a master's degree at least. Actually, generally, most employers are looking. Well, one of the things that I was going to mention was that it's actually something that I got a tip at another meeting on, which ties into this, is having every speaker, every single one, like if somebody is coming in and teaching about GIS, spend 4 minutes on their own career path. And I thought, what a great idea. So then I ran a 1-week program with undergraduates who came from around the country, and it was around this topic of geoscience awareness, career awareness, and professional development. And we had about 30 different scientists or engineers or web designers or education people, and it was like, let's just make this more like who are working in science, not just scientists. And we had, probably each student was exposed to 20 of those people through different things, different formats. And almost every single person was asked to talk about their career path. It's fascinating. It's like scientists one guy was a trucker and a DJ before he was a scientist. And the first feedback comment we got, we did a 15-minute debrief at the end of the week. First student said, "For the first time since high school, I'm not afraid of my future." So, it's just like we don't have to have this path, but there are these rich alternatives. And I think hopefully by including mentors in that process, it helps them realize the whole thing, like you were talking about yesterday, that we're all human. I don't know. I don't have a great solution. Lena?
I want to make a comment on when you look at your REU proposals and the goals that you set up for them, be also creative on what you measure success. So for an REU participant, success doesn't mean they went into graduate school. Success can mean that they learned that research was not for them and they wanted to be an English and a writer. We heard a great story about that yesterday. And also help educate the mentors that for NSF, and I think I'm safe when I speak on behalf of NSF, that NSF doesn't see success only as PhD to faculty. We are broadening, and we are also educating our program officers as well to say success can take many different colors.
Yeah, thanks. In terms of that success idea, how do you define success? When you have a panel, I mean, we accidentally had this really neat thing happen where we had a panel of grad students, and one of them had not gotten into grad school by a hair. And she was super happy, you know, she loved her job, she was doing what she had been trained for, and it was just this nice contrast. And after the panel, we had some people say, well, I've figured out I really do want to go into grad school, and other people are like, not for me, you know. So having variations or having non-academics on, you know, a career panel. So, yeah, training the mentors is in subtle ways, I think, is maybe the way to go. So that's my plug. And this morning we were really lucky to have some wonderful speakers. The first one is Carolyn Wilson from the American Geosciences Institute, and many of you probably know of her work. She has created several really outstanding reports with surveys that you'll hear about that are related to geoscience graduates and careers. And she is actually remote and is going to be speaking from, I think it's DC. And now I just have to, oh, there you are. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
We can hear you. Now I actually don't remember what to do. Anybody know? Ready, talk. Could somebody go ask Reed or Melanie? Can you control this? Oh, you can? Oh, okay, but it just seems like it should take more of the screen. Oh, oops. That? Up or down?
Come down here.
Thank you.
Just move your cursor off to the side.
Okay, I think go for it, Carolyn. Welcome. How are we preparing geoscience graduates for entering the workforce? Carolyn Wilson.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I will be at the end of the day. I'm starting on Sunday, so if you feel are there, we can chat further after this discussion if there's any further questions. Really, talking about sharing your I have my bachelor's degree in biology, and when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went to the Peace Corps for 2 years. Didn't do anything really science related. That's where I went to education volunteering. Decided that I wanted to get my master's degree in oceanography, so I did that. And then after I finished that degree, it took me about 9-10 months to land my first job, which was at the National Science Foundation during the period. When I finished my 2-year placement there, I moved over to Asia, and that's where I've been for the past 4 years. And so at a great AGI, I am the workforce data analyst, and one of the things we talk about today, or me and the team talk about today, is our exit survey. It's a survey that we give out every year to students that are finishing up their degree, they are graduating. So we have that in department, and we have that in our summer training at every graduation point, fall and summer. So we're sharing with you some data from the 2015 graduates. also determined that everything responds from the east. And the coloration on the map is the relative distribution of everything that are graduating. And it's really not surprising that our highest density graduates are coming from Texas and California. But we also have very high expectations in this work as well. The China is doing geophysical in 2015. The majority of the other farmers are averaging. So we can get there now that and so the data that we collected about our universities by as well as we expanded data through EPA-E, we have recognized that the contracts are getting pretty representative of the hospital, for example, in this very example. So looking on the background in the graphic, the genetic background of the is pretty much everything going on in this a little bit different, but it's all about the data on I'm very confident in we pulled together the policy that we were going categories because most of the students did not budget by our and it was difficult to go out and compare and rather we can do projects that in their base and that's working hard because we're using our memory. The training are asking about the education of the training learning practice and the higher and creative not highly. The majority of our certified graduates have business performance. But I will point out that 12% but also it is we're looking at a lot of events, and I think a word of reason is a little bit different, but not too much. But also, I have some pictures there that the person had clear colors with ways and follow up on that. A lot of our students think that it's for surgery. Here's a video of our graduates, and there's a lot of this video science that very well
Excuse me, Carolyn? Excuse me, Carolyn? I don't know if she can hear. Excuse me, Carolyn? There's been a request for when you have like three pie charts, if you could point with your mouse or bar graphs. Oh, just use your mouse. They're hard to read. The writing is the way it's come across the text is really difficult to read, so it would help if you point with the mouse. Or say no, that's okay, or say the color, that's the other thing, or over on the right. That would help, thanks.
I would like to do that. And if you have any questions about previous slides, we can answer that. Alright, so we have research experiences, and over a quarter of our bachelor's graduates do not complete any sort of research experience, whether it's with a faculty member or on their own. Some of that is due to the institutional enrollment district. If you look in the report, we do separate by institutions, whether they go to our college, all the way up to their years. That really was a different related perspective. We should do that. Sort of a perspective. And this graph is something that API has money out there. And that with that field also learn skills, sophisticated skills, and technical skills that you're going to I want to make sure you have any questions. This is my last time, and then all that, and you can contact us on our website.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have time really only for one question. And sorry about that, Carolyn and everybody, but you'll probably have to come up here though to ask it because of the connection.
Hi, Carolyn. Thank you very much for your presentation. The graph that you mentioned where more than 60% of the bachelor's students never had an internship upon graduation, I was actually even more alarmed at how more than 50% of PhD students have not had an internship. Can you comment on that point? Or am I reading that graph wrong?
No, you're absolutely reading that right. It's a concern for us. I focus mostly on bachelors, on this presentation because I'm talking to Geo REU. And especially are primarily for academics. However, it is a bit alarming as we hear when we talk about internships to our courses. They're like, oh, no, I'm a doctorate. I don't need to take an internship, I'll get hired. We just need to do a re-education of the purpose of the opportunities for taking or finding that job after graduation.
Okay, well, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll be sharing the slides with everybody. So, right, that's okay with you, right, Carolyn? Okay, great. Okay, thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Next, I would like to introduce my colleague, Reggie Blake, and he just won, I wish I had refreshed my memory, but he just won a really large award at CUNY, at his university, for being the Scholar of the Year. And anyhow, I'm going to move right into having him come up. So please come on up, Reggie, and he'll be speaking about adopting the EPA-E Geoscience workforce model to an REU program.
Good morning, everyone. For the next little while, I want to talk with you about a program we have at up in City University of New York, and to see how your program may be tweaked to include some of the ideas that I have to talk about. So I want to talk about adopting what we call an EPA-E Geoscience workforce model to an existing REU program. The folks whose names you see there are the people I work with up in New York City. And the second name there is a dear colleague who is, at this moment, not doing well. She's suffering from a bout of cancer, and she had a setback yesterday. So she's been rushed back to the hospital this morning. But just thought to mention that, and Val, just want you to know that, Val, that Janet is back in the hospital. So for the next few moments, I want to talk about an overview of our REU program at Noah Crest at City College up in New York City, a little bit about the EPA-E model, the geoscience workforce integration ideas, and then to look at some student testimonials. First, our program. So our program has been around for several years, about 2008 or so we started. We are a program that focuses on satellite and ground-based remote sensing. So we train our students in applying techniques in satellite and remote sensing, ground-based remote sensing, to the study of the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, the cryosphere, the biosphere. We look at the entire Earth. We study the Earth, all the things that pertain to Earth science. We use satellites to help us to study. Our faculty for our RU program comes mostly from NOAA Crest, a NOAA facility up in New York City. And we like to think of ourselves as being the premier remote sensing center in the Northeast. We have a world-renowned group of folks there who work with us, and part of their mandate for being a part of NOAA Crest is that they have to volunteer their time in the summer to mentor our students. The pictures on the left are some of the students that we've dealt with. We have a very rich and diverse group of students. We're up at City College up in CUNY. We have, as I told you yesterday, 500,000 students to choose from. It's very diverse, and we fortunately do not have a problem with recruitment. So those are some of the pictures of our students. Our RU program has three main components. We have a structured learning component, we have student support, and we have visions and impetus for advancement. And I quickly want to go through each of these components and then talk a little bit about the workforce piece. So the first part of the program with structured learning environments, I put this here because someone asked me yesterday about our tiered mentoring idea. And if you notice, I don't have a pointer here, but see, we have faculty mentors, and beneath that you have postdoc, research scientists, then we have graduate students, then our RU scholars, and finally we have high school students. So that's our tiered system of mentoring. And if you want to talk a little bit more about how we administer that, then I'll be more than happy to talk with you thereafter. So in this structured learning environment, on one hand, we have a one-week orientation, we have some mini courses, research seminars, and we have some skills workshop. And then on the right, we have this tiered mentoring system that goes all the way from the research scientists down to high school students. For our mentorship, it's tiered. We have a one-week preparation period for our students, and our students have over 24 research areas from which they choose, and these are all in satellite and ground-based remote sensing. They come to us with knowledge gaps, so we have many courses in GIS, MATLAB, remote sensing, and also in research ethics. They're exposed and involved in research seminars, and we have skills workshops. We teach them how to write papers, abstracts, and how to make posters and deliver presentations. For student supports, we help them with their graduate, we have prep sessions for them, and we help them with their graduate school applications as well. We have social networks, we have picnics, we have all kinds of social media interactions. We have brown bag sessions, we have safety nets for them where we provide counseling, academic counseling and personal counseling. So we make sure that they have safety nets just in case they are indeed needed. And our third component, we expose them to the geosciences. We have them have these wonderful experiences at places like the Brookhaven National Laboratory. We have a wonderful partnership with the American Museum of Natural History up in New York City, Carey Institute, upstate New York, and the NOAA Center for Weather and Climate Prediction. Those are some of the places that our students are exposed to. They go to many of these STEM conferences with the AGU, AMS, NOAA EPP, LSM conferences, MAA, and also ERN. Our students, not only do they go there regularly, but they also end up oftentimes winning awards at these conferences. We have geoscience events for them. So when we have events on our campus and we want speakers, student speakers, our RU students are usually the ones who speak at these conferences, at these meetings on campus, and introduce the student body to science. Then we have presentations and such like. I want to get to this piece. So this program has been going for these years. It's been rather successful, and last year we were successful in getting an NSF-IU's workforce grant, as a GeoPaths grant. And the idea there is to get our students exposed to the geosciences, and these students at our location where we are at City Tech. City Tech is one of the 24 institutions in CUNY. That's where I am a faculty member. Our students are not STEM majors, are not geoscience majors. In fact, we don't have a geoscience degree in our school, but we have many STEM majors. And so the goal of this workforce project is to take our STEM majors and to provide them with enough geoscience background and skills so that they may enter the geoscience workforce. This past summer, we had 8 of our students who were directly pipelined to EPA and to FEMA and to New York City DEP and to a private environmental company up in New York City. And they worked for 9 weeks this summer with those companies. And I'm elated to say that one of the 8 was offered a full-time job at the New York City DEP, and she's now working there, doing a great job. So this model that I want to introduce you to is what we call the EPA-E model. It comes from our Geopath IU's grant. It's a model where we do these 3 things. We expose our students to the geosciences. We prepare them with enough skills for the geosciences. We take them through an apprenticeship period, and then we give them the experience for the geoscience workforce. So our REU program there on the left is where we begin. And I just want to emphasize to you that this is a model that you may want to consider. It doesn't take any extra work, not a whole lot. You can take your existing program and perhaps pipeline it the way we have here if you want to have some impacts on the geoscience workforce. So for exposure, what we do with the IU students, and this could be done with REU students, is to expose them to the geosciences. So our REU students already go through the mini courses and the exposure trips and the geoscience seminars. For preparation, we take them through the communication skills and the networking and the coaching. And the apprenticeship piece, we take them through the REU projects and the field experiences. The last 2 are the pieces that are really up for some discussion, I hope, and maybe give some ideas and perhaps learn some things and share some things about how we could take REU students and get them perhaps keyed into the geoscience workforce. Our main goal as REU PIs truly is to provide a rich research experience for our students. But since we're also concerned about the workforce component, maybe there's some things we could do to tweak our REU programs so that another option opens up for our students. And so what I want to just discuss a little bit with you here and to make some suggestions to you about what you perhaps could do if you want to think about including a workforce piece to your REU program. So here are some ideas I want to share with you. You can take your existing REU program, realizing that most of our REU programs only run for 9 weeks or so in the summer, and after that we don't see our students, or most of them, we don't interact with them. So what you could do is to prepare these students for geoscience internship programs for the following summer. Many of our students, some of our programs, we take our students back, some students for the 2nd year, but most of us, I guess, maybe do not. But you could do something for them and with them to help them prepare for a geoscience internship the next summer. So one thing you could perhaps do is to give them a pre-assignment for REU. That is, have them identify geoscience internship programs in their state and in their cities. So where are the places within their localities and their regions whereby they may want to consider an internship opportunity, whether it's US EPA, for us, DEP or FEMA or USGS or any of these private companies or federal agencies that have these geoscience opportunities. And perhaps as they do this, it would be nice if we could collect these internship opportunities and these places and have a database somewhere that could be shared among all of us so that our students will have a rich resource to pull from. So if they have this pre-assignment for our REU students, and then we help our students to create portfolios during the summer while they're working with us for workforce internship opportunities and application. So while they're doing the soft skills, if you will, the cover letters, the interview practices, and resume writing, they're creating a portfolio that they could use for applying for these geoscience jobs. Next, they could be introduced or exposed to the geosciences. We take our students to these facilities I mentioned, and they meet with the people, they meet with the folks at EPA, they meet with the folks at FEMA, they meet with the folks at the DEP, they see what's going on, they're directly hooked and plugged into these agencies, so they see exactly what it takes to be a part of the workforce, of the geoscience workforce, and they talk to the folks who are really doing the hands-on work. So we take trips to these places and expose our students to the geoscience personnel.
Excuse me,
We
Reg.
also,
Sorry, Reggie. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Somebody was asking me a question, and I just thought, I don't know if I missed it, but that just to mention that it's over the course of a year that you're doing this, and I'm not sure, sorry if you mentioned it.
no, I didn't say that, but the program that this comes from, the IU's program, is a one-year program. So we're trying to take components of that IU's program and perhaps apply it to the REU program. So for the IU's program, one of the things we do, we invite folks from the geoscience workforce, from EPA, from DEP, from the Human Resources Department to come and give workshops on career development. And so they come in to talk to our students. And one of the great things our students learn is that they do not have to be geoscience majors to enter the geoscience workforce. And that's one of the great take-home messages from our program thus far. The student I mentioned to you who received the offer at the New York City DEP, and she's now working there at this moment, she's a computer science student. And now she's doing geosciences. So one more thing you can do, not only will you, should you encourage your colleagues and partners from the geoscience workforce to give talks at your location, your schools, to your students, but you can encourage your students to join professional geoscience networks and to attend these conferences. Many of these conferences have wonderful professional development components to them that students can benefit from. Has anyone heard of the SHIP conference? SHPE, I forgot what the acronym stands for. Hispanic, it's mostly Hispanic professional engineers. Yeah, it is perhaps one of the best ones around for this workforce component professional development type conference. So there's some out there that students could be exposed to. And so the idea is take the REU program you have now, do what exactly as you're doing, but if you're concerned about the geoscience workforce, you could give your students this pre-assignment of getting these contacts with geoscience internship programs, create a database for these programs, create a portfolio for the workforce internship that they may have next year after they're done with your REU program, expose them to the geoscience agencies, have the geoscience agencies send folks to your students to talk to them about workforce development, encourage your students to join these networks. And here's some testimonials from students who have had this experience. One says, the most valuable aspect of has been the exposure to career paths that I never really thought of before. Another student says, the geosciences have so many branches that many STEM majors can find a career path. Someone else says, participating in the IU's program is helping me to decide which career path I want to take. Someone else says, the year-round mentoring is second to none by the IU's professors at City Tech. I honestly feel that we have the best and most dedicated group of professors. Oh, this is a shameless plug here. You can find anywhere. My supervisor encouraged me to be creative, give things my own twist, and to be my best. And finally, another student says, gaining experience and other skills. Oh, I have gained experience and other skills, and said, I have learned so many new skills that I can use in the future. So as I close here, just as a summary, the idea here is you can take your current REU program, and if you want to tweak it a little bit, the tweaking doesn't cost you much. It doesn't cost NSF a dime, and you can do this and expose your students to another option that perhaps they never thought they had before. With that, I'll cease, and if there's a question, I think I may have a few minutes to dialogue with you.
Thanks, great presentation. I'm hoping some people will come to we have a breakout on publishing on your REU, I think, right, this morning. It got added late to the agenda because I'd be interested in hearing more about program assessment because the testimonials, I think, are meaningful and valuable, but it'd be great to see how this kind of intervention makes a difference in outcomes relative to other possible interventions or other REU models. And I was wondering if you've thought about even how to do an assessment. What would the control group be? Are you planning to do any kind of assessment of this EPA-E model?
We certainly, we're thinking of it. So each time we go through one of our programs, whether it's the REU or the IUs, one of the things we always try to do is to publish something about it, right? So we're working on that now for this. And this new component to the REU, we have not yet done ourselves either. Right? We're just thinking about doing it. We have done it now. We are doing it for the IUs, and we are collecting data, and we certainly will be writing something about it. There's a little piece we do there for a one-week program in the winter, and we're submitting an article to BAMS about that. And for the rest of the EPA-E model, we will be working on BAMS, Bulletin for American Meteorological Society, and we're submitting an article on the P part of EPA-E, the preparation part. And we have plans to therefore do a full-scale paper thereafter. So we can talk later on if you are still around about how we may want to assess this. We haven't given that much thought yet.
Just curious, do you have any tracking mechanism for tracking them post-REU into the workforce?
So we haven't done this yet again. This is brand new stuff, but certainly we'll be doing that.
What is your ideas for, because we're trying to develop something ourselves. And
that's a $1 million question that everyone has, right? So we struggle with that ourselves, and apart from just keeping in touch by social media and making phone calls, yeah, we don't have a good system of tracking as yet. So we do the old-fashioned way thus far. Any other questions?
Would alumni from your RU coming back be a good mechanism? I mean, to invite them to come back to be part of your tiered mentoring system?
And they do.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Absolutely right. So one of the things that we do with the RU program, maybe about 3 or 4, so we have about 10 students per year, and about 4 return each for the second year. And they're beneficial as mentors, and they're also beneficial as far as helping the faculty mentor advance his or her research. Many times they become co-authors with papers with their mentors. So yes, some do return. So I'll be around, so if you want to talk about what we have in our proposal about assessing our EPA model, we can go into that a little bit. So I'll be around all day so we can talk some more. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Reggie. Yeah, the question about evaluation it's an interesting one that I think anybody who's probably tried to write or publish on REUs gets asked, well, what is the control group? And I don't know how you run a control group, really, because you're not doing long-term tracking of applicants, for instance. You're not able to do that really very easily. And I suppose with keeping in touch with people, the idea maybe would be, one idea would be to actually make a table where you track, you keep track. And in SOARS we have a database where we actually, every year we do keep updating with people. Beck?
Yeah, encourage them to make a LinkedIn profile. If you could actually do that within your workshop, I'm thinking that's something we need to do. Because frequently we try and track down ours, and that's the best place for current information about.
So the suggestion, just for the people watching this on the recording, is to encourage students to make a LinkedIn profile and maybe have them do it on site when they're with you, so that later it's easier to find out where they are, that kind of thing. I personally am working on evaluation with Reggie and Janet and their group. And I have to say, it's just another plug for this program. It's great to hear the students saying, well, I had no idea that as a computer scientist or as an engineer that I could work on these really great, the hazards that are so exciting, and that I could find a career in the geosciences. So it's a nice way to bring in people from the other fields with this program. Okay, next, thank you, Reggie. Next, I would like to introduce Pranoti Asher from AGU. Excuse me. Is this it? Sorry. Who is also not just, by the way, not running an REU, but came specially to talk to us about some programs that are going to be useful for us. So thanks, Pranoti.
So I think I'm going to reintroduce myself as, oh, you're the one. So I've heard that so many times since I've been here. Yes, I'm the one that sends all those messages to your listserv. So I guess it's paying off. You actually recognize my name. But anyway, it's not my name that you need to worry about. It's the programs that I want to talk to you about. So I think that's far more important. And I feel compelled to just mention this, that AGU and AGI work together on webinars for department chairs. And so if you're trying to catch some of those slides and more detailed explanation of what Carolyn Wilson was talking about, if you just Google AGU, AGI webinars, she did one in May about the same exit survey, so you can hear the full-blown webinar. Anyway, so I'm here to tell you a little bit about some of the programs, many of the programs that we have at AGU that are relevant to your students. And I was really happy to see Reggie sort of set up the framework of the preparation and the awareness piece and things like that you're planning to do with your students, because we really did that same kind of systems thinking of all the programs that we have. I was fortunate enough to be on a National Academies committee where we sort of worked on sort of the trends and opportunities in federal earth science education and workforce development sort of programs. And we created a conceptual framework in which we had a system of all the opportunities and experiences of federal programs for students. And so what I did was I used that framework to just apply it to all the programs that AGU has. So you're thinking, what are you talking about? Whoops. Okay. So we have tons of programs at AGU. Don't try to read this, okay? Because it's going to be impossible for you to read this. So what we have are programs that we have for the public. We have programs for K through 12 students and teachers and undergraduates and graduate students and faculty types and department chairs and everything else under the sun. So we started to tag those and sort of figure it out in this framework where you have programs where you are simply making somebody aware of the geosciences, right? So going to the museum is just you become aware of something called geology or minerals. Eventually, a student may progress and sort of engage in learning, and so that would be the engagement piece. They may actually enroll in school, take courses, get a degree, but then they do something that's going to help them prepare for their profession. So we tagged all our programs in this framework. And it turns out that we have a lot of programs that you could simply say that, okay, if you're interested in things for your undergraduates, okay, so that's the sort of the light orange color sort of circle there at the top, you can just remove everything else and just use the orange dots, and you can see a whole continuum of projects or programs that your students could engage in with just AGU. You could play the same game for programs that other societies have. Many of you are headed to the GSA meeting. You could do the same thing. A whole bunch of people are doing a lot of things, but we don't have everything connected, so that if you go if you get an outstanding student paper award through AGU, what can you do with that? How can you use that to do your next thing? How can you, if you got sort of a fellowship or a travel grant, what are the other things you could do? So this is just a way to sort of tie things together. You can read more about this in EOS. We published this earlier this year. Of all the programs, I could talk about each one of these, but there's one I'd like to focus on, and that happens to be the Virtual Poster Showcase, which many of you have already heard about, or certainly have read about in emails. Oops, and some pictures didn't come through. So the Virtual Poster Showcase is this. If there's anything you want to remember, you just need to remember this particular slide. And this is a global program. It is a digital program. It is open to all students, undergraduates and graduate students. It is very convenient because you don't have to travel to a meeting to go present your research. I heard so many conversations about you folks talking about not having money to send your students or cobbling together money to get your students to a conference. It's not the same, obviously not. It's not the same, but it's a good way to get a student some exposure to what it's like to be at a meeting. How do you answer questions? How are you a professional? How do you sort of do that little elevator speech about your science? So it's teaching you a whole bunch of skills that are necessary for success. And finally, it's providing access to all types of students, whether they are at a two-year college and they don't have the money, or whether they're students who just can't go to a meeting because they have family obligations, or they have exams, right? AGU is always during final exams. So I used to be a faculty, so I never went to AGU because I was always giving exams. So anyway, so before I launch into this, I want to share sort of 3 stories. And these are stories from students that we've talked to and gotten, we've interviewed them and met with them, and they're just heartwarming. This is Daniel. He's from El Paso Community College, so shout out to that. He participated in our proof of concept, and he had never been to a meeting, never written an abstract, never even made a poster. His professor said, you're doing this research with me, why don't you think about it? And so he created a poster, and he got first prize. It was a transformational moment for him. That's what he told us. He was blown away that he had won. He transferred on to a nearby four-year institution, and I understand he's a senior or is about to graduate or has just recently graduated. So it had a huge impact on him. I'll talk about another student from Paul. This is your student. She was from University of Hawaii. She had never, ever created a poster, never been to a conference. She was working on this international project, and her professor had forced her or convinced her to submit an abstract to an international meeting. Well, she very conveniently participated in the Virtual Poster Showcase and got this feel for how do you do Q&A. If somebody asks you questions, how do you do that? What kind of questions can I anticipate? And so based on that feedback, she tweaked her poster and had a wonderful experience at an in-person conference. Okay, so she used this to prepare for the real conference, and that's what a lot of students are telling us. Can I do a dry run before I actually go to a real conference, right? Okay, cool. Here's Michael. It's my favorite story. He participated in one of the pilots that we did, and then came back a second time. He never won or anything like that, but he just loved this thing. And for him, doing this presentation or working on creating his video sort of flicked a switch. That's what he told me, flicked a switch for him. He was working on a work study project and decided, oh, this is what I want to do. And I love helping people because as a student participating in the showcase, he had to help judge other students. And so he thought, this was really cool. I get to talk to people I don't know and teach them and learn from them. And so he finished his undergraduate degree, is now in graduate school, and has been begging me to be a judge. He wants to be one of the expert judges. So he has come back as a judge because he loves helping students, because that had a huge impact. That interaction that he had with that scientist that he didn't know, and the good words of advice that he got, and the encouragement that he got, and the praise that he got, it had a huge impact on him. It flicked a switch for him. And so I could tell you a lot more stories. I could stand here and just tell you stories, but I want to get to how you could use this. So all of these are sort of making a point that many of you are familiar with this report to Engage to Excel, producing 1 million STEM majors. And based on that report, the Business Higher Education Forum did a sort of a STEM sort of workforce model, undergraduate model, and they said that if you have, and I heard this before when you were talking about evaluation, if you have many things that your students are doing, if it all together, these multiple interventions is sort of a game changer. So that's what we're trying to do, is not just your students going and having an REU, but to be able to do something beyond that. And that's the kind of thing that you're talking about, Reggie, and so that's what we want. Just not do the REU, but just what can you do beyond that. So one of the things in this model they talked about is research being really, really important. And we know that if you do research, you can present your research in a published paper, or you can present a poster. So let's focus on the poster piece for a moment. So we think that every student that does research, every of those 800 students that are around the country, I think it's 800 students that actually participate in a REU around the country, about that, right? Wouldn't it be great if every single one of those students could actually have an opportunity to present a paper, right? Outside, or present a poster outside of their REU, not just to their group, but outside of that, in a national arena or international arena. So how many students actually are making it for posters? We know that in the US, based on the work that AGI does, there are about close to 40,000 students in the US that are enrolled in geoscience programs, and this counts those students who are in two-year colleges as well as four-year colleges. And if you look at outside of the US, there are about 65,000 students that are in undergraduate programs getting geoscience degrees. So that's, well, you can do the math. That's a pretty large number, right? Wouldn't it be great if all of those students could make it to a conference, present their poster, right? We also know from AGI that from that exit survey that Carolyn was talking about 80% of students have had some sort of research experience. I think that's what she was talking about. She's talking about internship, but she was also talking about research experience. So 80% of that number is a pretty big number. But I work at AGU, and I can tell you that we have less than 120 Earth and space science students that actually come to our meeting, right? This coming week at GSA, you'll probably see a lot more undergraduates, because it's much more friendly, it's smaller, it's not intimidating. I'm staff, and I'm intimidated by going to the AGU meeting, right? It's a sea of humanity. So the GSA meeting is a little smaller, right? So a lot of students come to GSA, but those regional GSA meetings, is where the students are actually going, right? So they have hundreds of students over there. But that's still a very small number compared to, the 80% of that number. Do the math, right? Now, wouldn't it be great if you could take all those students and have them come to the meeting? But we know that there are barriers, and one of them is you have to travel. If you want to go to a meeting, you have to travel. And what that means is you got to have time, and you need money, right? This is a problem. But our students, these undergraduates, they're very savvy. They know about the digital world a lot more than you and I and everybody else together in this room knows, right? They know about so many things. So this is very appealing to them, that now we have a platform, a digital platform, where you can actually present your research by, uploading a poster and having a video and things like that. So we're calling it the Virtual Poster Showcase, and you can visit this URL. It's also on the bookmarks and the sheets of paper I left on your desk. Please take it. I don't want to take them back. They're really heavy. So this is what the platform looks like. We did a pilot. We did a couple of pilots, and now we are open for business, so to speak. You can have students participate from anywhere. This showcase has been sort of, we've talked about it at many, many meetings, and we know that there are other societies that are also our founding partners. Along with AGU, we were the ideation, did the idea and the development, but Council on Undergraduate Research, the American Geosciences Institute, AMS, and GSA are our founding partners, right? So we all believe that this is a good thing. This is a really great idea. So we've been working with them to sort of help promote the Virtual Poster Showcase. So what's involved? Well, 4 phases. If your student has been in an REU, they probably have an abstract. How many of you have your students write an abstract? Okay, most of the hard part is done, right? They're at your site, you can work on an abstract. You can submit an abstract to an ocean science division, earth science, environmental science, planetary science, and Atmospheric science, thank you. So 5 division, and we also have now a division for geoscience education research. So yes, I know. So you can also submit, students can submit to that, because there are lots of students who are master's students who are working, or PhD students who are working in geoscience education research. They don't have to be an AGU member. They don't have to be a member of any society, right? Want to make it open to everybody. Once their abstract is accepted, they can upload a poster. So if do they create a poster at your REU? Well, there you go. All they have to do is save it as a PDF and upload it, right? They also have to create a video. How many of your REU students had a smartphone? Yeah, right. So all they need is a smartphone and a friend who's willing to take a video of them standing beside their poster, if they printed one, or on a screen just like this, and say, talk about their poster, talk about their work, right? We're trying to simulate what happens in a poster hall. Hi, I'm so-and-so, this is my work, would you like to hear about it, right? Just do the 5-minute spiel on your elevator speech. So they can do that, and they can upload a video. They put it in YouTube, so it's just a YouTube link. Every student that submits a poster is required to participate in a peer evaluation. So each student has to look at posters of 3 students, and so this kind of teaches them how to be professional, how to ask questions, how to judge the science of others, learn something new, have an interaction, and these kids, they're having these interactions at 2 and 3 in the morning, but it's fascinating to watch the interaction. Wow, I learned something new. How did you build that? Oh, I think I'm going to do this in my community. So you bought all the stuff at Home Depot. Oh, great, how do you build this? Can you send me the specs? Here's my email address. And they're having all these wonderful conversations. It's fascinating to watch this unfold. I learned something new. I didn't know you could do this kind of work. I didn't know anybody studied these kinds of things, right? So it's just wonderful. So these students participate in peer evaluation, and they fill up a rubric, they give scores, and depending on how many professional scientists who are judges, many of you have helped with judging, thank you, and I invite all of you to be judges for the Virtual Poster Showcase. We figure out what percentage of those students move on to the last round, that is the expert judging phase. And the students who, again, they go through the same kind of process of being reviewed by judges, asynchronously, asking questions, and then submitting the scores through a rubric. The top posters are recognized. We have every student that participates gets a certificate of participation. They have an abstract that is citable, so we send them information about how they can cite their abstract, and that abstract is then part of the AGU database. So if you go to the AGU database, you're looking for a fall meeting, abstracts, you can search for Virtual Poster Showcase abstracts, right? So they can do that. The first, second, and third prize winners get plaques. That's why you saw all those students standing with their plaques. We asked them to send us pictures. They all get a free membership to AGU for 1 year. And the first prize winner gets to redeem a student travel grant for the next year's meeting. That means $500 if they're US and $1,000 if they're an international student, and they get a free registration to the fall meeting that following year. So real prizes, so it's a real thing. And it's been just great to watch the students participate in this. So you're thinking, where are they coming from? In 2015, when we had 3 pilots, we had about 71 students. The undergraduates mostly came from the US, and the graduate students came from around the world. And many from South Africa. There were some from South America, but I think they're hidden by the red dot on top. So we have no idea how they found out about it, but we're really pleased they participated. We had one showcase this past spring, and again, it was for undergraduates, and again, you can see mostly from the US. So the fall undergraduate and graduate showcase is going on right now. It closes for abstracts next Thursday, so shameless plug, go check it out. If you have students who are interested, you're welcome to participate. So in case you're thinking, what do we know, what do they gain, how are we tracking these students, we ask them about their confidence in preparing posters or in presenting their, talking about their science through a video. That's where we saw the greatest gain. In terms of, will they recommend it to a friend? 7.8 out of 10. We asked them about, are you planning to put this in your resume? All of those numbers are high, saying that they really valued this experience. They write us lots of stories and narratives about, how it impacted them. And when we ask them, how did you find out about this? They say, well, my professor told me this. So I'd like to ask all of you to consider, I don't know why the pictures are not showing up, but that's okay. Join the movement, it's sounding like a cult here. Encourage your students to participate. If it's too late for your REU this year, if you're teaching courses and where you're doing research with your students in the courses, you can participate, even add this to your curriculum. If you're interested, I can talk to you more about that. And please participate as a judge. Figure out what it's all about. It doesn't take but 2 hours of your time. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can certainly learn more on the website. We have a tutorial, so you can also learn what the 4 steps are. It goes through the whole process. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do you archive some of the top posters so
Yes.
that
So they're
we can
on the web. If you go to
send
the web
students-
page, if you just scroll down, you can see examples.
Yeah, because
And
that's
then
what
all the-
send them to look
Yeah,
at.
it's all linked there, the first, second. So now we have several showcases worth of posters and videos. And certainly the abstracts, all the abstracts in the database. Yeah.
There a registration fee?
Okay. There is no registration fee, but there is an abstract fee. So if it's $35, it's just so that you have skin in the game. You actually get to complete the whole thing. So we see very low attrition rates. That means we get lots of students who register, but about 75 to 80% of them actually submit an abstract, and most of them finish it all the way through, right? So if you have a little skin in the game, then you're more likely to complete the whole process. If you're a faculty and you're trying to get it for a whole group of students, we can help create a coupon code, if you will, for you, so that we can invoice you and your students can just use that coupon code to pay for the abstract. So it's only $35. And if you're from several countries, World Bank countries, there's no fee, $0 for those students. Actually, we have several students from a current REU that are participating in here. I created a coupon code for them. And then the USGS has an internship, so I created coupon codes for them. One of the NASA groups created coupon codes for them. So all of these students who are participating in the summer internships, they're all in the showcase this year. Thank you.